You wake up, but the world you wake into is not the world you know. The sky is wrong, dark, ash-choked. The sun barely a smear of pale light through black clouds. It has been like this for months, maybe years. You have stopped counting. You are cold. You are hungry. The animals you once hunted, gone. The plants, dead. Your tribe numbered 40 people 3 seasons ago. Now you are 11. And somewhere, thousands of miles away, a mountain is still burning. This is not a story. This is what actually happened approximately 74,000 years ago. A supervolcano erupted on the island of Sumatra with a force beyond human comprehension. And it nearly ended us, all of us, every human being who would ever live. Scientists call it the Toba catastrophe. Geneticists call it the population bottleneck. The rest of us should call it what it was, the closest our species ever came to total extinction. So how close did we actually come? Who survived and why? And what does it mean that every human alive today descends from those few desperate survivors? The numbers are almost impossible to believe. Before Toba, human population perhaps 100,000. After Toba, genetic evidence suggests as few as 1,000 breeding individuals remained on Earth. 1,000 people on a planet of 510 million square kilometers. To put that in perspective, there are more people in a single modern city block today. Every human being alive today, all 8 billion of us, descend from those survivors. We are all, in the most literal genetic sense, cousins, children of the same desperate few. The question science is still debating: how did even that tiny number survive at all? If this kind of deep science and hidden history is what you live for, subscribe right now. Every week, we go deeper into the stories that define what we are. To understand what happened to humanity 74,000 years ago, we need to understand Toba. Lake Toba in modern Sumatra, Indonesia, is the largest volcanic crater on Earth. 100 kilometers long, 30 kilometers wide, the scar of the greatest eruption in 2 million years. When Toba erupted, it didn't just erupt, it exploded, catastrophically, completely. The eruption released approximately 2,800 cubic kilometers of volcanic material into the atmosphere. For comparison, the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens released 1 cubic kilometer. Toba was 2,800 times larger than one of the most destructive eruptions of modern history. The ash clouds spread across South Asia, the Indian Ocean, and the Arabian Sea within days. Layers of Toba ash have been found as far away as East Africa, 7,000 kilometers from the eruption. But the ash wasn't the worst part, not even close. Toba injected billions of tons of sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere. There, high above the clouds, sulfur combined with water vapor to form a reflective aerosol veil. A veil that blocked sunlight across the entire planet for years, possibly for a decade. Global temperatures plummeted. Estimates range from 3 to 15 degrees Celsius of sudden cooling. In a world already on the edge of an ice age, this was a killing blow to the ecosystem. Plants died without sunlight. Herbivores starved without plants. Predators collapsed without prey. and humans, scattered across Africa and southern Asia in small hunter-gatherer bands, faced a world that was rapidly becoming a cold, dark, food-empty wasteland. The genetic evidence for what happened next is written in every cell of your body right now. Human beings have remarkably low genetic diversity compared to almost any other large primate. A single troop of wild chimpanzees in West Africa contains more genetic diversity than all 8 billion humans. This is genetically impossible, unless at some point our population crashed to near nothing. Scientists call this a population bottleneck, a genetic choke point through which our entire species passed. The timing of the bottleneck in human DNA aligns with divisive precision to the Toba eruption, 74,000 years ago, give or take. The numbers collapse, the diversity disappears, we nearly vanish. The question of how many survived is one of the most debated in paleoanthropology. Some geneticists estimate as few as 1,000 breeding individuals. Others suggest up to 10,000. Even at the generous estimate, 10,000 humans on an entire planet, we were critically endangered. By today's conservation standards, we would have been classified as functionally extinct. Consider what that means. Every language ever spoken, every song ever written, every civilization ever built, every scientific discovery, every act of love recorded in history, all of it hung by a thread so thin that a bad winter, a failed hunt, a single epidemic could have severed it completely and left this planet forever human-free.
So, who survived? And why them? And how? The current leading theory focuses on coastal populations in southern Africa. While the interior of the continent froze and starved, the coastline offered something critical. The ocean, specifically shellfish, reliable, protein-rich, unaffected by the volcanic winter above. Archaeological evidence at Pinnacle Point in South Africa reveals exactly this survival story. Human occupation, shellfish middens, ochre pigment use, sophisticated tool technology, all dating to the period immediately surrounding the Toba eruption. These weren't just survivors, they were culturally sophisticated survivors. They were using pigment, possibly for communication, possibly for ritual, possibly for identity. They were making tools beyond what pure survival required. They were, unmistakably, us. And something else was happening along those coastlines that would change everything. Small groups, isolated by the catastrophe, were being forced into something extraordinary. Innovation, cooperation, cultural complexity. The pressure of near extinction driving human ingenuity. It is a brutal and uncomfortable idea, but the evidence suggests Toba may have accelerated us. The survivors weren't just the luckiest humans, they may have been the most cognitively adaptable. Natural selection, at its most merciless, operating on our species in real time. Killing the inflexible, preserving the innovative, shaping the survivors into something sharper, something more cooperative, more creative, more capable of the behavioral modernity that follows. Here is the most extraordinary implication of the Toba bottleneck, and almost nobody talks about it. Approximately 60,000 to 70,000 years after Toba, something remarkable happens in the fossil record. Humans explode outward from Africa, suddenly, rapidly, unstoppably. Within 20,000 years of leaving Africa, humans reach Australia, then Europe, then the Americas. Every other large mammal that encounters these humans goes extinct within centuries. The megafauna of every continent, mammoths, giant sloths, cave lions, diprotodons, gone. Wherever humans arrive, ecological devastation follows. We had become something lethal. What happened in those 70,000 years between Toba and global conquest? The survivors rebuilt, slowly, over generations beyond counting. But they rebuilt differently, with language more complex, with cooperation more deep, with the cultural memory, perhaps even the genetic memory of how close it had come. Toba didn't just nearly destroy humanity, it may have forged the version of humanity that conquered the world. The catastrophe and the triumph are not separate stories, they are the same story. Think about the person sitting closest to you right now, or the last person who made you laugh, or the person you love most in this world. They are here because of Toba's survivors. Because 11 cold, starving people on an African coastline didn't give up. Because they found shellfish when the forests failed. Because they kept the fire alive one more night. Because they held together when everything the world offered them was a reason to fall apart. Every human being you have ever loved, every human being who has ever lived since Toba, is the biological grandchild of those survivors. You carry their resilience in your DNA right now. 74,000 years later, 8 billion strong, we are here. Not because extinction didn't try, but because a handful of humans refused to let it win. So here is your question to carry with you today. If near extinction made us who we are, what does that say about what we are still capable of becoming? Drop your answer in the comments. Like and subscribe if this changed how you see yourself. The story of our survival is stranger and more fragile than anyone told us, and we are just getting started.